Hello everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending upon when you are watching this video lecture. In the earlier sessions, we discussed about the concept of elasticity of demand, particularly price elasticity of demand, which is nothing but a quantitative measurement of the responsiveness of the quantity demanded in relation to a change in the price. That's what is expressed as elasticity of demand. And we also have observed how to compute elasticity of demand in different methods. Basically, by using the formula directly, we can compute percentage of change in the quantity demanded divided by the percentage of change in price. That gives us the elasticity of demand directly as a number. Same way, sometimes it can be calculated by taking a point elasticity, which is a graphical method. We don't need to draw the graphs, but at least if the graph of the demand curve, which is a straight line in this case, is given, elasticity of demand on a particular point on that demand curve can be calculated by using the formula lower segment divided by upper segment. That is also another way of calculating elasticity of demand using point elasticity method. In cases where the demand curve in general, which is not in the straight line, we can use the arc elasticity, which is the most useful formula of all and useful method of all. If nothing is given, if just data is given about the quantities of old and new situations and prices of old and new situations, automatically we have to use arc elasticity of demand, which takes not only the old and new price and quantity, it takes the average of them. So in a simple word, the formula for arc elasticity of demand more or less similar to the original formula, but instead of taking P by Q, we will take P1 plus P2 by Q1 plus Q2. So the formula for arc elasticity of demand will be, that is the change in quantity, that is Q1 minus Q2 divided by delta Q, that was delta Q is nothing but Q1 minus Q2 divided by P1 minus P2, which is nothing but delta P. There is no change in that. Multiplied with, instead of P by Q, will have P1 plus P2 divided by Q1 plus Q2. So the final formula here is Q1 minus Q2 divided by P1 minus P2 into P1 plus P2 divided by Q1 plus Q2. That is arc elasticity of demand. We can apply this formula. We should substitute the numbers given in any question, and then we can get how much the elasticity of demand of any product is. But okay, we can calculate the elasticity of demand. That is what we are talking about, is price elasticity of demand, to be particular. After we calculated, how can we interpret that is also important. Okay, we calculated. We have seen in some of the examples that the elasticity of demand sometimes is greater than 1, sometimes it is equal to 1, sometimes it is less than 1. It was 0, particularly when the demand curve was touching the x-axis, and it was infinity when the demand curve was touching the y-axis. Both of them are practically not possible. Only theoretically we can just mention that elasticity of demand is 0 or infinity. So keeping those two extremes apart, still there is a possibility of elasticity of demand being greater than 1, equal to 1, less than 1. What does each of these numbers represent? What does it mean? That's what we have to be very clear, and understanding the interpretation of the numerical values of elasticity of demand is very important aspect as well. So calculation is one part. After just calculating, it is not going to be enough. We need to be able to interpret the results also, which are possibly having any one of these 5 situations. Any one only is going to be possible. Nothing else is possible. Of course, what are the 5 situations? We know them already. Either the elasticity of demand is 0, naturally that is touching the x-axis at that point of time. Elasticity of demand is 0 means irrespective of the price, whatever the price may be, the quantity demanded is going to be constant. Quantity demanded is not at all being affected by price. So what we have to remember here and understand here also is, when the elasticity of demand is 0, how the demand curve will look like. The demand curve will look like this. Any two questions, two answers can be given. Any of them is correct. So what can we say? This demand curve here, or the demand line, how is it? It is perpendicular to the x-axis or parallel to y-axis. So that is the demand curve. So either way this can be asked as a question, but we should remember that when the elasticity of demand is 0, we are talking once again price elasticity always. If nothing is mentioned, elasticity means price elasticity only. So if the price elasticity of demand of a particular product is 0, then the demand line will be perpendicular to the x-axis, parallel to the y-axis. That is a point we have to identify. And why that happens so? It happens so because the quantity demanded is going to be constant. It is not going to change irrespective of the price. The price may increase, they keep on increases, but the quantity demanded remains the same. That's why this is parallel to y-axis, which is the price line, and perpendicular to the x-axis, which is the quantity line, since it will not change. That is elasticity of demand being 0. Okay, then when the elasticity of demand is 1, we call that, we give a name to that, that is called unitary elasticity. So unitary elasticity means the elasticity of demand, price elasticity is equal to 1. In other words, exactly the percentage change in quantity demanded is equal to the percentage change in price. For understanding purposes, let us say, just for example, say there is a 10% increase in the price. So naturally what happens to the quantity demanded? We know that very well, it will decrease. Okay, that is fine, because the direction is always opposite of price and quantity demanded. That is not the problem. But the question is, how much percentage it will decrease? Same percentage it will decrease. So the point is here, if that any product is having unitary elasticity, that means the percentage change in the change is always a generic word. Change could be upwards, downwards. A percentage change in the quantity demanded will have an equal percentage change in the percentage change in the price is going to have equal percentage change in the quantity demanded. So these two are having the same percentage change. If that happens, if at all that happens, then we can say that is called as a unitary elastic. So in that case, the elasticity of demand as a number, that will be equal to 1. So we can call that as unitary elasticity. So if elasticity is 0, if it is 0, that means there is no change in the quantity demanded at all irrespective of the price changes, which means the quantity demanded does not respond to price changes. That is first scenario. Second scenario, unitary elastic or elasticity of demand is 1. Then what is this? What does it mean? It means the percentage change in the quantity demanded is equal to the percentage change in price. That's what happens in case of elasticity of demand, that is price elasticity of demand is equal to 1. We can call that unitary elasticity. So what if the elasticity is greater than 1? That is another possibility. What if the elasticity of demand is greater than 1? So if it is greater than 1, that means the percentage change in quantity demanded, which is in the numerator, is more than denominator, right? Then only the resultant will be greater than 1. That we should basically understand. So numerator is what? Numerator is percentage change in quantity demanded. That should be definitely greater than percentage change in price. So that's what happens. If the elasticity is greater than 1, what does it mean? Percentage change in quantity demanded is greater than the percentage change in price. That means we can call that demand to be elastic. So then in such cases the demand is said to be elastic. And simply here we can say the elasticity of demand is greater than 1. Here elasticity of demand is equal to 1. Here the elasticity of demand is equal to 0. So 0 means completely inelastic. Perfectly inelastic we can call that. Equal to 1 we can call that unitary elastic or perfectly elastic. So here this is this is unitary elastic. Here we can call greater than 1, we can call that to be relatively elastic. Definitely there is elasticity more than 1. That is third scenario. So what if it is less than 1? Elasticity is less than 1. If it is less than 1, that means numerator is less than denominator. So what is the numerator? If the elasticity is less than 1, what does it indicate? It indicates that the percentage change in quantity demanded is less than the percentage change in price. Naturally, in that case, the demand is said, the elasticity of demand is said to be inelastic. So that is the case of where the elasticity of demand is less than 1. So if it is less than 1, we can call that inelastic. Greater than 1, we can call that elastic. Equal to 1, we can call that unitary elastic. Equal to 0, we can call that perfectly inelastic. There is no link between quantity demanded and price at all. These are the possibilities. Of course, there is one more non-possibility actually, but only theoretically possible. That is when the elasticity could be infinite. Elasticity infinite means what? The quantity demanded is changing infinitely without even a change in price. So change in price is nothing, but price is same, but the quantity demanded is changing. So practically it is just not possible. But just theoretically, in that case, we can say the elasticity of demand is infinite, which means the responsiveness of this product's quantity demanded is that much, too much. Without even a small change in the price also, the quantity demanded is drastically changing. So the minutest possible change also will have huge impact on the quantity demanded. But once again, we have to keep this in mind. Practically, it is not possible. Theoretically only it is possible to have price elasticity of demand infinite. So what happens in this case? In this case, even if there is a slight increase in the price, they will never buy that product at all completely. So this is called a perfectly elastic situation. So this is perfectly inelastic. First one, perfectly inelastic. This is perfectly elastic. This is unitary elastic. This is elastic. This is inelastic. So here we can use these two things, relatively elastic or relatively inelastic, or you can just use the word elastic, inelastic. But this is perfectly elastic. This is perfectly inelastic. Unitary elastic is just equal. That is, percentage of change in quantity demanded is equal to the percentage of change in price. That's what happens in case of different situations of elasticity of demand. So we need to be very clear with the graphs. If the graphs are given in the question, we should be able to identify what is it indicating. So how does the graph of each of them represent? How does it look like? If the elasticity of demand is 0, then the graph or the demand line or the demand curve is going to be parallel to y-axis. One, you remember, that is enough. Automatically, if it is parallel to y-axis, it is perpendicular to x-axis. Remember one thing. So that is going to be parallel to y-axis. On the other side, if the elasticity of demand is infinity, then the demand curve is going to be parallel to x-axis. Unitary elastic will have same thing because the elasticity of demand will be equal to 1. This is the perfect possibility of the same change, percentage change in price and percentage change in quantity is happening, both happening in the same way. That's what is unitary elastic. Then these two things also we should be able to identify. If not now, even in future also, this graphs will be helpful for us. Very important point to identify. Read this graph carefully where the elasticity of this product is greater than 1. So what does it mean? It means that the change in the quantity demanded, so look at this distance, how much is this? This is higher. Whereas how much is the change here that happened? This distance, if you see, this is lower. So this is a small change in the price resulting in more change in the quantity demanded. That means this product is highly price sensitive, or we can call that the price elasticity of this particular product is greater than 1. That means the change in the quantity demanded is more than the change in price. That's what happens in case the elasticity is more than 1. And look at the way the graph is there also, how the curve is more flat it is, angle is not that much. So here the curve is as good as a normal horizontal line, but it is not horizontal, but it is little flatter compared to the next one. The next one is looking little slanter. So what does it mean? The slant curve means what? Little bit slant means what? It means here, if you observe once again the distances, so P to P1, there is a big decrease in the price, but the quantity demanded increased only a little bit. It increased, but it increased only a little bit. So for a huge decrease in price also, the quantity demanded increase is only less. Once again, what can we conclude? The percentage change in the quantity demanded is less than the percentage change in price. All this can be just visually observed also in the graph itself. So if you observe this first graph in this, here change in the price is very small, change in the quantity demanded is very huge. So it is price elastic, that means the elasticity of demand is greater than 1. In the second case, price change is more, but quantity demanded change is less. This is more. If you just observe, this distance is more, this distance is less, it is not that much. So that means what? That means what? Even though there is a big decrease in price, the quantity demanded is increasing, but very less it is increasing. That means the percentage change in quantity demanded is less than the percentage change in price, which means the elasticity of demand is less than 1. So in case the graph is looking little flatter, we can understand that demand is more. In case the graph is looking little slanter, we can understand the elasticity of demand is lesser, that product is less price elastic. So we don't need really all the times the data numbers only to identify. So if a graph is given, for example, like this, and if another graph is given like this, we should be able to identify which product is having more elasticity of demand straight away. Which product is having more elasticity of demand? This is having more elasticity of demand because the graph is here little flatter, here the graph is little slanter. So there is a big you can say change here in the quantity demanded if there is a small change in the price also. Here, even though there is a change in the price, that is not going to result a huge change in the quantity demanded. It is going to result in only a very little bit of change in the quantity demanded. So here this is elastic, here this is inelastic. So that's what we can say. So here the price elasticity of this product is greater than 1, and here the price elasticity of this product is less than 1. These are the two other examples also we can take, other than price elasticity being 0, infinity and 1. So that is the possible numbers that can be attached to the price elasticity of demand, and not only numbers, not only calculations, we should be able to very clearly identify what does each number mean. What is the meaning of each number also we should be able to identify very well. So that is the interpretation of the numbers which are depicted by the elasticity of demand. The same thing is once again repeated here as a table basically, and this can be just remembered. We have to remember this also very clearly. What if the price elasticity is 0? Then what happens? What we can call that? We can call that perfectly or completely inelastic. That is perfectly inelastic. That's what we can call. Same way, what if the price elasticity is greater than 0 but less than 1? 0 greater than 0 but less than 1. Then we can say it is relatively inelastic. That's what it is. That means less than 1. So this is 0, this is less than 1. These are the only 5 possibilities. So each of them can be a question. And this could be equal to 1. We can call that as unitary elastic or unit elasticity. That's what we can call when price elasticity is equal to 1, which means what? Quantity demanded and percentage change in the price are same. So always we have to understand why this word is related to a number, and what is the meaning of that also we have to understand. What if the price elasticity is 0? That means the quantity demanded does not change at all according to the prices, means completely the product is inelastic. Irrespective of the price, the quantity demanded is going to be constant. So what if the price elasticity is less than 1 but greater than 0? Greater than 0 means definitely we cannot say it is perfectly inelastic. It is little bit elastic but not that much elastic. So we can call that relatively inelastic, but not perfectly inelastic, relatively inelastic, or just we can use the word inelastic. What does it mean? The numerator is less than denominator. What is numerator? Quantity demanded. Percentage change in quantity demanded is less than percentage change in price. That is less than 1. Equal to 1, naturally numerator denominator both are same, which means the percentage change in quantity demanded and percentage change in price both are same. What if the price elasticity is more than 1? If it is greater than 1, of course less than infinity, in that case we can call that elastic product or relatively elastic product. Once again, what does it mean? Numerator is greater than denominator. What is numerator? Percentage change in quantity demanded, that is going to be more than percentage change in price. Then we can call that product as elastic product, or we can say that is relatively elastic. If at all the percentage change in the demand is there but percentage change in the price is 0, that means without even a change in this price also the quantity demanded is so fluctuating, which means that elasticity of that product is infinity, which is once again I'm repeating not possible practically Only theoretically only we can understand that. Even if you try to imagine to apply it, you will not be able to do that. How can there be no change in the price but still there will be infinite change in the demand? How is it possible? Practically not possible. Theoretically only it is possible. So just for understanding purposes, if at all such situation occurs, what does it mean? It means the purchasers are prepared to buy all that they can obtain at some price, and if at all the price increases even a little bit also, they are not going to buy at all, none. So it is going to be people having a thought process of all or none. All or none is the process. Again, practically nobody will have such type of thought process. Theoretical questions of course can be asked on this. So if the price elasticity is infinity, then what happens is the change in quantity will be changing too drastically without a change in price. So price will not change. So naturally the price remains constant. Quantity will keep on changing. So how this graph looks like? This graph looks like parallel to the x-axis. If the price elasticity is infinity. If the price elasticity is 0, that will be parallel to y-axis. Okay. Like this, the graphs also to be known, names also to be known, numbers also to be known, interpretation of those numbers also to be known. All of them are important because this is the crux of the theory of demand, that is elasticity of demand. Very core area for this entire chapter, one way we can say, is elasticity of demand, very particularly price elasticity of demand. See, if you understand one type of elasticity, other elasticities becomes easier, supply also becomes easier. So focusing more on the demand and price elasticity is the very important aspect, because it is first in the beginning we have to understand everything. After that everything else will be more or less in addition to this only. So now once we understand price elasticity and we know how to calculate price elasticity by using say any of the formula, either using the normal formula, percentage change in quantity demanded divided by percentage change in price, or by using point elasticity, lower segment by upper segment, or by using arc elasticity by using the formula. The formula is what there? Q1 minus Q2 divided by P1 minus P2 into P1 plus P2 divided by Q1 plus Q2. So that is one more thing. So that is arc elasticity also we can use as a formula. Either of them, any of them once we can use. Remaining elasticities will be easier to calculate. Income elasticity, cross elasticity, etc. We'll come to them later. Now there is an example that is given here. I think one of that we already did, which is particularly related to radios. How to calculate elasticity of demand using which formula? Once again here, arc elasticity is the formula that has been used. I would suggest actually to use this way, as I told, Q1 minus Q2 divided by P1 minus P2 multiplied with P1 plus P2 divided by Q1 plus Q2. Ultimately both are same. But what matters is here, substitute the numbers and get the answer. 1.8 is the elasticity of demand for radios that we have calculated earlier. Same way you do this one. You calculate for wheat. The data is given in the beginning of the chapter. Once in the beginning of the chapter when we started these examples, there the data was there. So take that. So what is Q1 originally? 500, Q2 520. How much is P1? P1 was 20 and P2 was 18. Substitute that. Then if we substitute, how much elasticity we will get? 0.37. What does it mean? Now we have to understand. So if it is more than 1, the elasticity of demand greater than 1, then we can say the radios are elastic. Wheat having an elasticity of less than 1, that means we can say this wheat is relatively inelastic. And even same with the salt also, it is relatively inelastic. So almost as good as 0. Almost. If you do the formula and you can substitute the numbers, the final elasticity of demand for salt can be 0.02743 something, almost equal to 0. We cannot say perfectly inelastic because it is not equal to 0, but definitely it is more inelastic. So if a question comes out of this wheat and salt, which is more elastic? Which is more elastic? Wheat is more elastic, salt is less elastic. Between these two. Or we can say out of this wheat and common salt, which is relatively inelastic? Definitely common salt is relatively inelastic compared to wheat. So for any two products, if you compare, we can easily identify whether one of the products is having more elasticity than the other or less elasticity than the other. Radios in this case has the most elasticity, wheat in the next category and common salt in the third category. So the elasticity of demand, whatever the number that we calculate by using this formula, will give us how strongly the price and quantity demanded are related with each other. We know very well they are related with each other. We know very well they are related inversely with each other. That we know. We know the relationship. We know the direction of the relationship. What is the magnitude of that relationship? What is the intensity of that relationship? What is the impact of that relationship? How much this percentage of change in the price is going to have an impact on the change in quantity demanded is going to be measured by, quantified by the price elasticity of demand. That's what we are calling and we are calculating here, and that will tell us how strongly this product is related to the price or not related to the price. For example, common salt, we can conclude the demand of common salt is not much related to the price. There is no link between the quantity demanded of common salt and its price. Can we say that there is no link at all? No, we cannot say that. That link is very weak link because it is very, very less price elastic. 0.03 is a very less elasticity. So there is a link but very weak link. If that is zero, if at all, then we can say it is perfectly inelastic. Once again, usually the perfectly inelastic zero and perfectly elastic infinity, these two categories are only useful for just imagination purposes. Practically, it will be not possible to have or find any of these two kind of products. So don't need to worry about actually when it happens like that. It will not happen like that actually. Theoretically only it is possible. So that is one of the reasons why normally the demand curve generally cannot touch the x-axis and y-axis. No. So we say that it cannot touch. But in these two cases, which are impossible cases, it touches the x-axis here if the elasticity of demand is zero. If it touches the y-axis here if the elasticity of demand is infinite. Both of them are practically not possible. Theoretically, anything is possible. So those are also possible. That is how elasticity of demand has to be computed as well as interpreted in the correct manner. Okay, that is very important thing in relation to computation of and interpretation of elasticity of demand. Now let us take one more method of computing, or actually rather than computing, we can say identifying the elasticity of demand. So our objective here is what? We know very well that price and quantity demand are related. There is no doubt in that. For that we don't need all these calculations. We already know that. We also know that the direction between the relationship between the quantity demanded and the price is inverse. That also we know that. There is nothing new there. But the point is how strongly they are related only we need to know. For that we calculated some numbers. Yeah, those numbers gave us some indication how strongly they are related or how weakly they are related. If it is like more than one, definitely they are very strongly related. If it is less than one, they are weakly related. They means what? The quantity demanded and price. And if it is equal to one, they are not much having any impact. So both are equal. So the relationship is straightforward in that case. So in some cases, the strength of this responsiveness could be much more. In some cases, the strength of responsiveness could be much less. In some cases, the responsiveness could be equal to the change in quantity demanded. So these are the practical things that we have discussed. So three possibilities are generally what we see in general. Possibilities wise, these are the three possibilities only. Once again, 0 and infinity are not possibilities. They are just there only for understanding the theoretical alternatives, not that practically they are possible. So ultimately, what are the three possibilities that we can think about? See, the elasticity of demand can be either greater than 1, or it could be equal to 1, or it could be less than 1. So what does it indicate is the same, right? So if it is greater than 1, it is relatively elastic. If it is equal to 1, it is unitary elastic. If it is less than 1, it is relatively inelastic. If we can identify the elasticity without calculating also, ultimately the objective is served. We don't need to calculate and find out the number, and then only we can understand whether it is elastic or inelastic. It doesn't make sense. It is not required also. So that is why what point is, of course, all these methods of calculating elasticity of demand so far we have learned are important. I'm not telling they are useless. But when we say greater than 1, yet anything is greater than 1, right? See, for example, some product is having elasticity of demand of 2. Let us say, because that is greater than 1, that we know. So another product is having a elasticity of demand of 3. So that is also greater than 1. Another product is having a elasticity of demand of 7. That is also greater than 1. But all of them we are putting in which category? We are all putting them in the category of greater than 1. We are saying that, okay, Baba, all these products are relatively elastic. So the numbers are given, the elasticity of demand we are calculating, but ultimately it is just a number ultimately falling in any one of these three categories. So keeping that in mind, is without calculating also we can find out the price elasticity of demand, that is called as total outlay method. Total outlay method, or sometimes it can also be called as total expenditure method. So total outlay or total expenditure method, or sometimes it can be called as a revenue method also. Why? Because simple understanding you have to keep in mind here. See, when we say total outlay or total expenditure, for whom it is? Is it for the consumer or the seller? Demand is from whose point of view? Demand is from consumer point of view. So when who buys, who purchases? Consumer purchases. When he buys, what he will do? That's what is called expenditure. Outlay is nothing but outflow. When he buys something, is he not paying out the cash? Is he not giving out something from his pocket? Yes, that's what is outlay. So outlay or expenditure more or less the same. So the expenditure or outlay is the words which are used from the point of view of the buyer. On the other side, the same can be even expressed as the total revenue also. That is a nothing but this whatever expenditure spent by the buyer is the revenue for seller, right? So, or is there going to be any difference between these two? Not possible. There is no leakage here. If you take the entire market into consideration, let us say one particular buyer is having a total expenditure of 1 lakh rupees by purchasing certain goods, this 1 lakh rupees is going to be the revenue of that seller or not? Definitely yes. So we can use this as another word also can be used for expressing this. So sometimes it is called total outlay method, or sometimes it is called total expenditure method. Sometimes it is even called total revenue method. But in either case, what is that we get? What is that we have to calculate here is simply price multiplied by quantity. That's what is revenue, right? That's what is revenue for the seller. That's what is the expenditure for the buyer. If a buyer buys 1000 units of a product at 5 rupees each, naturally, how much expenditure the buyer has spent? 1000 into 5, 5000 rupees. How much revenue the seller has got from this deal? He got 5000 only. So, whether it is revenue from the seller's point of view or expenditure or outlay from the buyer's point of view, in either case, either of these cases, ultimately how we have to calculate this is same. That is price of the product multiplied by the quantity. That's what is to be calculated. Okay, first we have to calculate that. Okay, after we calculate that, how does it have an interpretation of elasticity of demand? How to find out whether a particular product is elastic or inelastic? That we will see now. But point here is, in this method we cannot find out the exact coefficient of price elasticity. No, that we cannot do. So whatever the calculations that we do here earlier, all these things cannot be done here. So we cannot find out how much is the elasticity of demand. Is it 2? Is it 1? Is it 1.5? Is it 0.5? We don't know. We cannot calculate. We cannot know the exact number. So the point once again comes back to that. We cannot know. Yes, that's a limitation. But why should we know? Ultimately, as long as you know, is it greater than 1, equal to 1, less than 1, that is enough. That's the only thing. We cannot actually find out the exact coefficient of price elasticity. That is a limitation of this. But we can definitely identify what is the tendency of the elasticity of demand related to this product. In other words, is it relatively elastic or inelastic or unitary elastic? That can be definitely found out without understanding what is the actual real number attached to the price elasticity of demand. That cannot be found. But ultimately what we can definitely find is whether the elasticity of demand for a product is more than 1 or not, we can know. How much more than 1, that we don't know. Number we may not know. Tendency definitely we will know using this method. What method we can call this? Expenditure method, or total expenditure method, or total outlay method, or total revenue method. In any case, we need to find out the total expenditure or total revenue. See, both are same. Every time we don't have to get confused here. Total expenditure or total revenue. Total expenditure is only just once, amount is same but expressed from buyer's point of view. Total revenue, amount is same but expressed from seller's point of view, right? So now when there is a result as a result of a change in the price of the good, that means the price of the good has changed. As a result of the change in the price of the good, the total expenditure on the good or total revenue received from that good remains the same. If it remains the same, then what we can say? The price elasticity for the good is equal to unity. In other words, same, once again the same logic. The expenditure, total expenditure made on the good will remain same because the percentage change in the quantity demanded is equal to the proportionate change in price. So even if there is a change in price, definitely there is an impact on the percentage of quantity demanded. Since these two are equal, the increase in the price is nullified by the decrease in quantity or vice versa. Ultimately, there is no impact on the total expenditure or total revenue because it remains the same. In a simple just example for understanding purposes, only for understanding purposes, let us say if the product price is 5 rupees, somebody is going to buy, just for understanding purposes, if the product price is 5 rupees, somebody is going to buy 10 units. So that is the demand at a price of 5 rupees. So what is the revenue here? Multiply naturally the number of units with price. So when you multiply the number of units with price, what you get is total expenditure from buyer's point of view, or total outlay from the buyer's point of view, you can call it, or you can call total revenue from seller's point of view. That was 50. Now just imagine the price of the product is increased to 10. When the price of the product is increased to 10, imagine if the number of units purchased by the buyers is reduced to 5. So when the price was 5, number of units purchased was 10. Total expenditure was 50. Now the price increased. Price increased from 5 to 10. Naturally, the number of units consumed will become lesser. So from 10 to 5, it has reduced. But the point is, did the total outlay change? No, sir, it did not change. Which means what? Irrespective of the price, the total expenditure is going to be same. Total outlay is going to be same. So when the price changes, increases, because of which ideally the revenue should increase, but revenue will not increase in this case. Rather, what it will happen is it will remain the same. And how is it happening? Because of the increase in price, the quantity demanded has reduced by so much that in that way, finally, the total revenue or expenditure or outlay from that good remains the same. So the main point here is remains the same. Total expenditure remained the same. If it remains the same, what we can call that as? That is unitary elasticity. In other words, we can just once again go back to our denotions. That is this case when the elasticity of demand is equal to 1. And when the total expenditure remains unchanged, the total revenue remains unchanged, no change in revenue because of a change in price, then it is unitary elasticity. Why is it happening? Because of there is an increase in price or decrease in price, naturally there is going to be a decrease in quantity or increase in quantity, according to which the total revenue is not getting affected. That is going to remain the same. If that is the case, it is called unitary elasticity. Next, another situation, second case. Only 3 cases, by the way. This entire total outlay method is having only 3 things. We have to identify which one is that. So first one we completed is equal to 1. When can we say the price elasticity is equal to 1? When can we say that? When the total revenue does not change, when the total revenue remains same, then that's what when we can say there is a unitary elasticity. Now second case, when as a result of increase in the price of a good, we are looking at one direction only. Of course, here there is no difference, increase or decrease, because you can if you look at from 5 to 10 multiplied with each other 50, you got 10 into 5 multiplied also you got 50. So you go from this direction or this direction, the ultimate result is same. That is why here the word used is change in price, because anyway the elasticity is equal to 1. So here there are 2 things. Here opposite thing is also possible, so we have to be careful about others. So let us look at one direction. See, once you understand one direction, opposite is automatic. So let us say as a result of increase in the price of the goods, increase happened in the price of the goods, just like here. So in the same example, 5 rupees was the price, originally 10 units were consumed, 50 was the original revenue or expenditure, we can call that. Now what happened? The price increased from 5 to 10, right? But what happened is the total expenditure made on the good or the total revenue received from good has fallen. It has fallen. So what could be the example here in this case? Original thing, let us keep it like that only. Let us say you have 5 rupees original price of the commodity, and 10 units were purchased originally. Original revenue was 50 rupees, just for example. That remains the same. I will start with the same point because it is an example of same magnitude. But now when the price has increased to 10 rupees, if the price has increased to 10 rupees, people have started buying only say 4 units. They did not purchase 10 units, they did not purchase 5 units, they purchased 4 units. That means what happened to the total revenue? Total revenue has fallen. So what can we say? Is this product highly affected by the price? Sir, yes, definitely yes. Why? Because though there is a 5 rupees increase in the price in this example, the number of units reduced by 6. Of course, 5 and 6 you should not take, you should take percentages also. Irrespective of that, what happened ultimately, the final result is what is important here. Earlier, in the earlier scenario, increase or decrease, both ways, when there is a change in the price, the quantity demanded has adjusted itself in such a manner that the total expenditure did not change. Now, when there is a change in the price, now look at first direction, 5 to 10 the price has increased. What happened to the revenue? Revenue has decreased. That's what happened. When there is an increase in the price of the good, the total revenue or total expenditure of that good falls, right? Or reverse if you see, that also is okay. Let us say already the price of the commodity is 10 rupees, 4 is the number of units. Now already the revenue is 40. Now the price of the good is reduced, reverse, from 10 to 5. Then the number of units is increased from 4 to 10. So revenue has increased. So when there is a reduction in the price, revenue has increased. When there is an increase in price, the revenue has decreased. So simply speaking, just we can say the price in this case, the price and revenue, how are they? When the price is increasing, revenue is decreasing. When the price is decreasing, the revenue is increasing. So definitely these two are inversely related to each other. Price and revenue we are talking, total revenue we are talking. So if this is the case, then what is the nature of that? What can we say about that good? Is it elastic or less elastic? Definitely it is elastic, and the elasticity of demand in this case is called as greater than 1. Why? Because even for a small change in the price also, the impact is huge. It is not just getting nullified like earlier. The impact is becoming more than the percentage change in demand. So it is resulting in either an increase in revenue in case of a decrease in price, or a decrease in revenue in case of an increase in price. If simply speaking, price of the product and revenue or expenditure or outlay, all of them same. If these two are opposite in direction, then we can say that elasticity is greater than unity. That means that is a more relatively elastic product. If you take, for example, the radios example, once again, the same numbers that we have taken earlier, the radios example if you take. So what was the original revenue and what is the changed revenue that you can take? Originally, what happened? The original revenue was how much? 500 rupees was the price. 100 radios were purchased by the customers. So the total revenue of the seller could be 50,000 rupees. That was original. Now what happened? The price reduced from 500 to 400. So when the price reduced, what should happen? The total revenue should increase. Let us see whether it increased or not. Yes, it increased. How? Because now the demand is 150 radios at a price of 400. So 150 into 400, 60,000. So what happened to the revenue totally? From 50,000 to 60,000, it has increased. So when there was a price decrease, the revenue has increased. In this example, it happened. Reverse also can happen. Either case, what we can call the elasticity of demand for the product of radios is more than 1. So definitely it is showing a elastic demand for the radios. It is a relatively elastic product, relatively price elastic product. That can be concluded by just looking at revenue itself. So the total revenue or total expenditure or total outlay If it is increasing when the price is decreasing, that means that product is relatively price elastic. Then on the other side, relatively inelastic, let us see. Next, third category. Third category, what is happening? Example, same example we can take, then we can move on to wheat also. Let's first imaginary example. Let us say same way, 5 rupees is the price. At the current price, 10 units are going to be purchased. So definitely there is going to be a 50 rupees of revenue currently. That current situation is same example we are continuing in all the three cases. So first also this is unitary elastic, second is greater than 1 elasticity or relatively elastic situation, third is relatively inelastic situation. When can we call that relatively inelastic is this. Imagine if the price of a product is 5 rupees, quantity demanded is 10 units, so existing revenue for an organization is 50 rupees. Now what happened? The price of the product, let us say, increased from 5 to 10 rupees. 5 to 10 rupees. Now, rather than reducing the number of units from 10, it has reduced, but it has reduced only a little bit. Let us say the quantity demanded has reduced only to 7. From 10 it has reduced to 7. Don't think the quantity will increase. When price increases, quantity decreases for sure. But only point is, here it happened in such a way that the total revenue did not change. Here it happened in such a way that the total revenue also decreased. Here it happened in such a way that, third case, the total revenue has actually increased. So what happened to the price? Once again, understand the relationship. What happened to the price? Price has increased. Price increased from 5 to 10 rupees. What happened to the total revenue? Look at total revenue. What happened to the total revenue? Total revenue also increased from 50 to 70. So both are increasing. If this is happening, if what is this? Both are increasing. Price also, revenue also. If both are increasing, then what we can say? Then the elasticity of demand of such product, price elasticity, is less than 1. That's it. That's it. So when price will not have any impact on the revenue, when the revenue remains constant irrespective of the change in price, revenue does not change, then we can call that as unitary elasticity. If the price decreases, revenue increases, or vice versa. Price increases, revenue decreases. If the price of a product and the total revenue of a product are inversely related, then that is called relatively elastic. Then if the price of a product and revenue are directly related, then it is relatively inelastic. Sometimes people will have a wrong conception thinking that price of a product and quantity demanded are directly related here. No sir, price of a product, quantity demanded are always inversely related. Here also inversely related. Price increased from 5 to 10, quantity demanded decreased, no doubt. But it decreased only in such a level, such a lesser decrease it happened, so that the total revenue has increased. So we are not talking about price and quantity demanded here, observe that. We are talking about price and revenue. Both are going in same direction. Price increased from 5 to 10 rupees. Total revenue increased from 50 rupees to 70 rupees. That means that product is having a relatively less elasticity. Okay. Same thing you can apply to wheat example. For example, in the earlier scenario, when we have this example already, numbers you have already, just you need to substitute them. So in the wheat example, what was the situation? There were two different things. So price was originally 20 rupees, later it became 18 rupees, and quantity was 500 rupees originally, then it became 520 units or kgs, whatever. So first, originally how much was the revenue? 20 rupees multiplied with 500 kgs, so 10,000 rupees was the revenue. That is original revenue. Now let us see when the price has decreased from 20 to 18 rupees. If it reduces from 20 to 18 rupees, definitely the quantity demanded will increase. Yes, it increased from 500 to 520. But did it increase the total revenue? No, sir. Total revenue got decreased from 10,000 to 9,360. So what can we conclude here? As a result of decrease in the price, the total revenue also decreased. So both are in same direction, which means the elasticity of demand is less than 1. Was that not? Was that not less than 1? Yes, it was only 0.37. In the case of radios, it was more than 1. That is 1.8. Whatever the numbers may be, here in the revenue method or expenditure method or outlay method, we cannot identify the exact elasticity, but we can definitely identify whether it is relatively elastic or relatively inelastic. In the second case, the radios were proved to be relatively elastic. In the third case, wheat was proven to be relatively inelastic. And if you observe the same thing for salt, it will be much worse. Salt will also have the same thing. So what happened to the salt? Price decreased from 9 to 7.5. Then what happened? Demand increased from 1000 to 1005. So you can understand for the same example for salt also. What was the original revenue? Original revenue is 1000 multiplied with original price was 9 rupees. That means how much? That is 9000 rupees is the original total revenue for salt, right? 1000 multiplied with 9, right? Now what happened? Price decreased but quantity increased but little bit only. So what is the new quantity now? 1005 is the new quantity that is there, but that has to be multiplied with what now? What is the new price? New price is 7.5. So what can we say this new total revenue is going to be? Do the calculations. Do the calculations on a calculator. 1005 into 1005 into 7.5. That comes to 7537.5. So let us take just for convenience 7538, rounding it. 7358 is the 7358 is what? The total revenue now. So what happened once again to the total revenue? Earlier the total revenue was 9000. Now the revenue got decreased. Why? Because of a decrease in price from 9 rupees to 7.5 rupees. So once again, what can be proven? It is also relatively inelastic. But we don't know. It is 0.027 or whatever it is. The number we may not know. But definitely using this total revenue method, we can come to know when the price decreased, revenue also decreased. When price increases, revenue also increases. If these two are directly related with each other, then we can say that product is relatively inelastic. On the other side, if the price decreases, revenue increases, or vice versa, price increases, revenue decreases. If these two are inversely related, then we can say that product is relatively elastic. If the revenue does not change, even though there is a change in price, then that product is called unitary elastic. Simple. Okay. All these things are summarized in this table. This table you have to remember very well. This is one of the most important aspects. Definite questions will come in the examination in this area, whether a particular product is elastic or less elastic or unitary elastic, that has to be understood. So look at this, just for same thing we are talking about. Price increases. If the price increases, what happens? If the product is elastic, it will become opposite. So total revenue decreases. What happens to if the price is increasing? What happens here? If the product is elastic, then the total revenue decreases because these two are opposite with each other. If it is inelastic, that will be same, like direction. When the price increases, the total revenue also increases. But here, unitary elastic, if you observe, always there is no change. Means there is no increase or decrease in total revenue. So the total revenue remains the same, irrespective of whether a price has increased or decreased. So when the price increases, if it is an elastic product, the total revenue decreases. If it is an inelastic product, the total revenue increases. Same way, when the price decreases, unitary elastic will not have any impact. When the price decreases, for the elastic product, the total revenue increases, because these two are once again opposite with each other. If this decreases, this has to increase. Here, both are in same direction. If that decreases, this total revenue also should decrease. So price decreased, total revenue also decreased if the product is inelastic. So if you observe once again, the direction of increase in the price and the direction of change in the total revenue is inverse in case of elastic products. So this increased, this decreased, this decreased, this increased. But in case of inelastic products, the direction is same. Price increased, total revenue also increased. Price decreased, the total revenue also decreased. So that's what happens in case of a relatively inelastic product. So the relatively elastic product and relatively inelastic products will have opposite directions with each other. So very, very important question, very, very important aspect, concept, total outlay method of calculating price elasticity. We can call this outlay method, expenditure method, or sometimes we can even call this as total revenue method also. All of them are same. Logic, concept has to be very clearly understood. This table everybody should remember. This definite questions will be there from this particular topic, right? That is about elasticity of demand computation, interpretation, and different methods of ascertaining the elasticity of demand. Some of them are computed, some of them are just ascertained. Outlay method only ascertains whether a particular product is less elastic or more elastic, but it has a limitation of not being able to actually calculate the elasticity of demand. That is a limitation of this method, that is total revenue method or total expenditure method or total outlay method. With that, the technical aspects of elasticity of demand, I can say, are concluded. Most important aspects of the elasticity of demand or the concept of demand, the theory of demand are concluded. All that we have remaining topics are mostly about the generic things. What are the determinants of price elasticity of demand? What could be those things that will be there? And other types of elasticity of demand, like how to calculate income elasticity. See, once you know price elasticity calculation, income elasticity also more or less same, because the only change is the factor which is impacting the demand, but the concept of elasticity of demand is same way cross elasticity of demand, and all these things related to different types of elasticity of demand and what factors will influence the elasticity of demand we'll discuss in the next class. And then after that we will move on to the last but not so important technical topic of demand forecasting in the next class. So in the next class we can conclude the core aspect of the overall understanding of this unit 1 of chapter 2, that is the demand theory and elasticity of demand and concepts related to demand. All these things can be concluded in the next session. Till that time, take care. Bye bye. Thank you very much.